Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Alex and I am excited to announce that Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures and myself are going to be continuing our Bookworm Club into 2025. We are going to be keeping the pace of one book every 2 months or 6 books for the year because we feel like that will allow the most people to join as possible. Kat and I both have very busy reading schedules and can imagine that you probably do as well, so this video is going to serve the purpose of not only telling you the 6 books that we plan to read this year, but also the dates for each live show. We will be kicking off the year with a winter novel called The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. This is the story of Ruthie, her mother Alice, and her younger sister Fawn, who move into this old farmhouse in a town known for mysterious disappearances. One of the most mysterious disappearances was that of Sarah Harrison Shea, whose farmhouse they actually just moved into. One morning, Ruthie wakes up to find that her mother Alice has also disappeared, and when she goes to investigate her mother's bedroom, she discovers a copy of Sarah's diary hidden under the floorboards. And this is going to kick off the event of Ruthie not only trying to discover what happened to Alice, but also what happened to Sarah all those years ago. We will be discussing The Winter People on Thursday, February 27th at 8 p.m. All of the live shows are on Thursdays, and they are also at 8 p.m., just to let you know. Then we have The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst, and I really love my copy. It's extremely beautiful. I got this at Powell's on my trip out to Oregon. I'm a little worried to give you all a description of this book because when I first described this story in my video where I talk about all the books that I got at Powell's, I actually had a subscriber comment that my description was very misleading, which is a bit strange given the fact that I'm going based off of the dust jacket and the little card that was left by one of the booksellers at Powell's, because this was a book that they really loved and that was what helped me decide that I wanted to buy it in the first place. So I'm going to give you a description that hopefully isn't misleading, but given the fact that I haven't read this book, I don't know whether it is or not. So please forgive me for that. From what I understand, this is the story of Keela, who is a librarian for magical spell books. And one day the library that she works at burns down. She is forced to move back home to the town that she is originally from, and she discovers 2 things there. 1 is a handsome stranger who keeps poking his nose in her business, and 2 is that there is a need for a spell shop in the town, and she decides to open one, except there's one problem. The magic that she is using is considered unauthorized. I can only imagine that this is going to be some sort of cozy fantasy romance with probably some hijinks and things that go wrong with the spells that she's using. I think that sounds very charming. We can all use a light read every now and again, and we are going to be discussing this book on April 24th. I want to be very clear that I'm excited to read all of these stories, but this next one I'm very curious about in particular, and that is Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei Brenyah. This is about Loretta and Hamara, who are members of the Chain Gang All-Star team, which essentially means that they are prisoners competing in the CAPE program, which stands for Criminal Action Penal Entertainment. Everybody who competes in the program is a prisoner in the American private prison system, and they are performing in gladiatorial combat as teams in order to try to win their freedom. Loretta is actually very close to being released. She has only a few weeks to go and just needs to get through her final match before she can escape this life that she's living. Except when she gets to that final match, she does something that throws a wrench into the entire plan, and that is really where our story, I think, is going to take off. You, like me, might think that this kind of sounds like an adult version of The Hunger Games, only, of course, in the American prison system. I don't know whether that's actually going to be the case. I do know that this story was a National Book Award finalist and was also a New York Times 10 Best Books of 2023 winner, so I'm hoping that there is plenty in here that is original content and isn't going to be too reminiscent of anything else, but I guess we're going to find out. And we will be discussing this book on June 26th. Up next is Deacon King Kong by James McBride. This takes place in 1969, where an old deacon who goes by the name Sportcoat walks out into the projects in Brooklyn and shoots a drug dealer at point blank range. My understanding is this book not only follows Sportcoat and the people who witnessed the murder, but probably the people who were part of the events that led up to the murder in the first place. I love character-driven books. Those are my favorite, and I imagine that that's very much what this story is going to be. It also was one of the New York Times 10 Best Books of the Year. I believe, in 2020 because it was an Oprah Book Club pick in that year. So feeling very confident about this one as well. And we will be discussing Deacon King Kong on August 28th. Up next, we have The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentill. This follows 4 strangers who went to a public library one day and just so happened to sit down at the same table when they hear a woman scream from somewhere in the building. Security ends up locking down the entire facility, so they are not allowed to leave, and they decide to sit and start sharing stories and details about themselves to get to know one another. The catch is that while they're becoming friendly with one another, one of them just so happens to be the murderer. I think this sounds like a fun mystery, really curious to see how this one goes, and we are going to be discussing this on October 30th, so the day before Halloween. And last, but hopefully certainly not least, is going to be The Man Called Uva by Fredrik Backman. And I was specifically told that it is pronounced Uva and not Ove, as I originally thought, so I want to make sure that I say the correct name. Uva is this old, crotchety man who believes that everybody in his community must just be an idiot, while everybody who lives in the same town as him thinks that he must just be extremely bitter. That is until one day he gets new neighbors, and it's this young couple with their 2 young kids, and their introduction to him is them accidentally smushing his mailbox with their U-Haul. This incident is going to lead him to getting to know his new neighbors, and in turn his community is going to get to know a little bit more about him, where initially they thought that they had him all figured out. And we will be reading A Man Called Uva on December 18th. As you can tell, Kat and I really tried to cast a wide net of genres to appeal to as many people as possible. We're excited about all of these, and hopefully you have at least a couple that you will want to join us for in discussion. Kat was also kind enough to create this very nifty graphic for you to take a screenshot of and save if you would like to track exactly when all of the discussions will be happening. That way you don't have to keep returning to these videos. I know we both look forward to engaging with all of you in the coming year, and as always, I really hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, that you all stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.